So now that you're ready to get through with it, let's do this. We obviously start by opening whatever website we're doing. And you thought I was creative. So let's get to Upwork.com. Dealing with Upwork is very simple, and I will try to take you through the basics and the more experienced things, as well as at the end the tips and tricks, which is what will make you succeed on this platform. So as you can see, we start off by easily signing up. Now, back in the days when I started working on Upwork, how it was they simply just allowed you to go onto Upwork at any time. But now it's different. As far as I remember, now it's more of an application process. If they don't want you, or if there's no demand for your skills, then they're not going to accept you. So let's try, and there is a tip behind this. We'll get to it in a moment, but let's begin with signing up. And you're a freelancer looking for work. By the way, if all of this is simple for you, you can skip this part of the video, because if you know how to work your way through Upwork and the basics of it, then really you shouldn't be doing this. So apply as a freelancer, and we're gonna just continue with a Google account of mine. Let's just use this. Okay, of course you agree to the Upwork services. All right, now it's a different sort of interface than the last time I had, but it's wonderful. Are you ready? Yeah, let's answer the few questions. Have you ever freelanced before? Yep, I freelanced for years. Or it actually doesn't matter. What is your biggest goal? Let's say I don't have a goal yet, I'm exploring. Okay, so these three things, I know them because I dealt with Upwork for a very long time. First thing is I'd like to find the opportunities myself. This is simply what Upwork has been doing for years, which is you applying for jobs. Second one is what I call the Fiverr model. They're trying to imitate Fiverr because Fiverr is really closing up on them in terms of revenue and success and growth. So they're creating something called portfolio or project catalog, which is exactly Fiverr, just showcasing your products. It's really good. I mean, the time I worked there, this was a new product, so it also got me a lot of clients, so it's good as well. The last one is just, the recruiters, they always try to recommend, but it's not usually the best. They are just going to recommend you some jobs. So let's go for the first one and the second one. You could import from LinkedIn. I've never tried this before, but I will fill out manually. So let's say software engineer. Thanks. Experience, IBM. Oh, sorry. Experience, junior software developer at Slack. Location US, or actually, since I'm in Switzerland, let's keep it as Switzerland. And location Zurich. So I wrote here a few things in my work experience: junior software developer, Slack, Zurich, Switzerland. And I'll put the start date as February and the end date is also February. And I started from, let's say, it actually doesn't matter because they're never going to verify it. That's one of the things. Plus, I'm doing this just for educational purposes. I have no intention of working on Upwork anymore. So from 2011 to 2021, 10 years. 10 years as a software developer. I'm so tired. Description, I'm actually going to leave this blank. But when you fill it out, if you have a good work experience, then write as much as you could. Because this is part of, there were different sayings around whether this whole process is just accepted by an algorithm or whether people manually decide. Regardless, I've had people who worked in top companies in the world, like Procter & Gamble, and they applied for freelancing and they wrote their experience there and they were not accepted. So it's not really about the big companies as much as it's about the whole package. I believe it's partially the algorithm, but in all cases, this is quite important because it might be also handpicked. So save. So this is all the experience I have. Now I'm going to add my education. You could just add your school, of course, and your field of study. I don't have to do this right now because I know what this is all about. Education on Upwork almost doesn't make any difference. Of course, if you're a graduate of Harvard or Stanford or a good university, it's really good to put it there. I believe it's also part of the algorithm. There's no way of understanding how they accept or how they don't in these elements. They probably give you points. So if you have good educational records, then they would give you a point, for example, extra point to get accepted. But this is all conjecture. I have no conjecture. Conjecture. You have no way of knowing. We have no way of knowing that because they're never going to share this. So nothing to add. Languages. I'm a native language. What work are you here to do? Now this page is the most important page because here you're showcasing your skills. And according to the algorithm, if you put skills that are not in demand or that have a lot of freelancers that are already doing that, then you're probably going to get rejected. And they're going to say when you're rejected, apply again in 24 hours, or you can apply again later. That's also okay, but just you need to change your skill set. They're not going to tell you to change your skill set, but that's the truth is you could just apply with different skill sets. And for this, I've conducted some social experiments with some of the people who worked with me. So we had once around 5 years ago, I had a few people who wanted to learn freelancing and I took them as a test case or a case study. And from those 15 people, some people put skills that are high in demand. High in demand? How do I know that they're high in demand? This is your first step. Upwork releases something called their reports, their annual reports, or their quarterly reports, actually, of the most in-demand skills. I'll share with you a few of them, but the idea is they tell you which skills are highly in demand. So what I did was with this test case, we took those people and put some of the things that are high in demand, and others just put things that are not very high in demand or things that they believe that they would love to do, of course, and some others were a combination of both. And after this test experiment that happened, there was absolutely no results that are conclusive because some of the people who had high in-demand skills were accepted, and some of the people who put random skills were accepted. And there was no pattern. It has nothing to do with it. It has nothing to do with that. So what you can do is look at the high in-demand skills. And if there is something that you are capable of doing, add it there. It's not going to hurt you to add it. So if, for example, you're good with something here like Spock, I don't know what that is, but if Spock is high in demand, let's actually look about high in demand. So for example, looking at this article, it says the most in-demand skills and job for 2022, machine learning, automation, data analytics, mobile application development, VR, video production, etc. So if I write VR here, or virtual reality, and I know how to work with it or I have experience with it, it's definitely not going to hurt. But if I put all the sort of in-demand skills, this could raise some red flags and they would know that I'm just trying to bypass their system. So be honest about what you do. If you're, for example, a graphic designer who worked before at a graphic designing agency that worked in VR products, it's okay to put virtual reality here. It's not really an alteration from the reality. You did work on VR. You also worked on graphic design, you know? So if you can find the merge, that would be the perfect thing. Say what you would love to do. Graphic design, writing, blogging, whatever it is, but try to connect it with the most in-demand skills as much as possible. Take a few from here and a few from here, and then this is what you need to do. And this is the most important phase of this whole application. Then you should tell a bio about yourself. Again, there's no way of knowing whether the algorithm is actually going to screen through the bio. I think this is partially human interference, but in all cases, write as much as you could about your experience. Try not to sound very orthodox, you know, like don't go like, hey, I am Alanani and I've worked for 10 years in this and I've worked for 10 years in this and I know how to do this, this, this. No, do the listing. So lists are highly preferred on Upwork. That is in my professional experience. So if you know how to do things, put them in a list form, but don't make it too long. and start with something attractive or something creative about the bio. Like, I wouldn't say a quote, but something that happened recently. I would say something that happened recently in the stock market or with a company, because I am focusing on business consulting. You're focusing on something else. Then you should say, for example, something in that area. Start with a one-liner and then immediately start stating your skills, and keep it short. Don't make it large, and say a little bit about yourself, but don't go into details about that you were born in this country, you did this, you didn't. They don't care about that, and clients won't also care about that, because all these questions are going to be asked one day or another. And don't put interests cycling and going for a bike ride, for example. No one cares again about that. Or swimming. Come on, who cares if you swim or not? That's up to you, but don't put it on Upwork. Yet if you have an interest, like, for example, artificial intelligence as an interest, write it down. This is definitely not going to hurt. But the most important thing, again, in this phase is to write your bio in a most selling sort of way. So say it clearly, answer the clear questions. Who are you in one paragraph maximum? Your name mentioned. And don't say your age or anything like that. Just say your name and what you are. You're a blockchain developer or a blockchain enthusiast. Just write a one-liner there and then state the things you do. Like, I work on developing blockchain applications. If you have statistics, that would even be better. If you don't, then that's okay. You could just do that. Moving on. All right, so now that you wrote a bio, we go to the next step, which asks what are the main services you offer. This is part of a very important part of the algorithm. So you need to say, but here there's not really a lot to do, because if you are an AI and machine learning data scientist, or you want to be, then you have to write that. You have to write another one. These skills are ones that actually determine whether your profile gets accepted or not based on the demand, as we said earlier. But you have to be, as much as possible, also democratic, as we mentioned earlier. So do mention what you're working on if you're working on design. And for example, let's go to design, for example, and you're a graphic designer. So you write that. NFT, AR, and VR, game art. Even if you don't know how to do it, but you believe that you could create some NFT art, you're capable of doing that. Add that if it's one of the most demanded things, if it's going to get you accepted. You have no obligation to work on creating NFT products afterwards. You choose your own jobs. So this is just to bypass the first level, which is the Upwork accepting or the Upwork filtration phase. So let's say we chose those three things, and then we go to the next step, which is setting your rate. I don't believe setting the rate is really that big of a deal, but again, I don't understand how the algorithm works perfectly. So I would assume also that if they think you priced it too low or too high, that you would also score accordingly. I'm sure it's more complex algorithm than what I'm anticipating, but I would put the hourly rate as not too low and as not too high. When you put it as too low, clients tend to believe that you're going to release a bad product, that your outcome is not going to be that good. So you don't want to be branded as in this area. You want to put it in the middle, something not very high, but something not very low. I will start with $25 an hour, which might be deemed low to some people and high to some people, but I think this is a comfortable way to start working on Upwork. Remember, I worked and hired people for more than $30,000 and hired tons of freelancers. And at the end of the day, the hourly rate doesn't really matter because it depends on the client. And most clients go for fixed jobs, or they already agree with you. How long is this going to take? So they have a specific budget in mind. The majority of clients do. So it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. So put it something reasonable. Okay, so lastly, the photo and the location. Put a good photo. Don't put something. This is something for them to verify your identity, to verify that you're a human being. Put a good picture of yourself. With probably a plain background, but not a very CV picture. Don't do that. Do something more, with maybe a dark background is good. A colorful background is even better. Something like that. Finally, you just have to review everything and then you click submit. Now, when I'm reviewing, I noticed that I wrote software engineer. This is just for Upwork's algorithm, and I recommend you don't even do that. You might write some one-liner that is a little bit stronger. For example, because after looking at that, of course, this is just phase one. However, this is going to be mentioned later, that you need a one-liner that attracts. So mine was, for example, blockchain-focused business consultant. This is good because it puts me in a niche, and that's what you want to do. You want to be put in a niche. So instead of saying software engineer, how about something like this? AI tech guru, or AI tech enthusiast, or AI front-end developer. It's okay. AI front-end developer is okay, but you can do better. So think of that and create your perfect one-liner, put it there, and then move on to the submitting. Now, after you submit, there is going to be an option. Probably you're either going to be accepted or rejected. If you're not accepted, then you can reapply again. Change the whole thing. What I recommend, according to my professional experience, is that you should delete everything you did previously. So you can't really delete your account that you applied for before. I'm not sure if you can do that, but it doesn't matter. Use a different email, use a different picture. If you could use a different name, but like the same name of yours, but with a different initial. So if your name is Rebecca Hart, write R Hart. Or Rebecca H, you know, you don't have to show them that this is the same person applying from a different profile. But why are you doing that? So that you would mess up with the algorithm. So if the algorithm knows that who you are right now and they know you're trying to just change the variable so that you get accepted, how about you apply from scratch with a different email, with a different everything? They wouldn't know who you are. They would think you're a new person. So you're getting a new shot from scratch. And when that happens, write something different in terms everything, make everything different, write different skills. It's probably the skill set that gets you accepted or not accepted. Who knows? I'm not sure if even the country makes a difference in this whole situation, but try changing as much as you could. You can't change your country or your address, but you can change your skill set. You can change your services that you're offering. You can change your one-liner. You can change your hourly rate. Do that as many times as possible until you get accepted. Because once you get accepted, this is just phase 0, really. It doesn't matter because once you get accepted, you shouldn't be too happy about it because it's just literally as signing up to a new freelancing website. Back in the days, you used to just click on your email and your password and that's it. Now it's a little bit more complex, but you need to pass this phase.